Okay, so guys, till now we have completed basics of VPNs, types of VPN, types of keys, and the cryptographic method. All those stuff are done, right? Now, in the last class, we also discussed that we have an IPsec as a security protocol, and inside the IPsec, how many protocols do we have, guys? Inside the IPsec, how many protocols do we have? Multiple protocols. Okay. So tell me, what are the protocols? See, go step by step. Don't jump. Okay. Tell me step by step. Come on, guys, answer me. Yes. First of all, you will say, Sriram, not like that. Those are the algorithms which you are talking about. Okay. You will never answer like this. See, if anyone is asking you how many protocols are, what are the protocols under the IPsec? Okay. So first of all, you say under the IPsec we have IKE, ESP, and AH. Okay. And after under the IKE again we have the ISACAMP. Okay, which works on the UDP port number 500. Right. Under the IKE you can tell multiple protocols. You guys can tell under the IKE. First of all, you will say IPsec. IPsec is a collection of protocols. Under the IPsec you will have IKE. Under the IKE we'll have after that we'll have ESP and we'll have AH. These are the protocols. Under the IKE again you will say, under the IKE you will say we have ISACAMP, right? We have ISACAMP, and we also have NAT T, right? These things also you can tell it under the IKE. Okay. Now ISACAMP runs under the UDP port number 500. NAT T works on the UDP port number 4500. Right. There are many other protocols that you can tell, but basically these things you can tell. Okay. So these are the protocols. Now IKE has two versions. IKE has two versions. IKE v1 and IKE v2. Right. Now this IKE v1 and IKE v2 both runs on the ISACAMP. Okay, your IKE v1 or IKE v2 has a ISACAMP protocol. Both runs with your ISACAMP protocol. You can say ISACAMP protocol, and this ISACAMP has basically two phases. ISACAMP has two phases. What are the phases of ISACAMP, guys? ISACAMP has two phases. Okay, one is your phase 1 and another is your phase 2. This is how you can explain. Okay, so always understand this phase 1 and phase 2 comes under the ISACAMP. Always understand, either it is IKE v1 or IKE v2. Always this ISACAMP will be responsible for carrying your phase 1 and the phase 2 properties. I mean, like phase 1 and phase 2 informations will be carried by your ISACAM protocol only, okay, which runs on the UDP port number 500 for source and destination, right? What is the purpose of phase one, guys? The purpose of phase one is, in short, it's the purpose is to exchange the key exchange, right? And the other phase two is to carry a real data. It will carry a real data. Before carrying a real data, it will do a phase two negotiation. And phase two negotiation will happen only when your phase one negotiation is done. So the very first thing what you have to do, phase one negotiation. Phase one negotiation is done, then only your phase two negotiation will be done. If you guys have issues with the phase one negotiation, your phase two will not come up. Okay, so always understand, phase one negotiation key exchange will happen and identity will also get exchanged, right? Identification, right? And the key exchange happens in your phase one itself. In a phase two, real data will pass, but to pass a real data, first of all, it will exchange the quick mode. There will be a quick mode exchange, message exchange will be there. Now my question for you guys, which protocol is responsible to carry a real data in your phase two? Which protocol is responsible to carry a real data in your phase two? ESP or AH? Correct. So ESP or AH, both the protocols are responsible, both the protocols can be used, but my question is, which protocol is secure one, ESP or AH? Which protocol is the secure one? ESP is the secure one. Can you tell me the reason why ESP is secure? Only encrypted, Sriram? Encryption plus hash. Encryption plus hash. It supports both, but AH supports only hash, right? What's the protocol number of ESP? What's the protocol number of ESP? ESP, what do all of you guys are getting confused or what? ESP protocol number. It's 50 hash and AH is 51. Don't forget these things. These are the independent protocols. ESP and AH are the independent protocols. They are not dependent. Okay? They don't rely on your transport layer. These are the independent protocols. Right? So always understand. See, in your phase one, either it's a main mode or it's a aggressive mode, right? And in a phase two, we'll have a quick mode, right? Understand, if it is a combination of main mode 6 message exchange and the quick mode 3 message exchanges, total equals to 9 messages, right? After the 9 message exchange, only ESP comes into a picture. Understand? See, most of you guys might have a confusion or you might have a misunderstanding. I have noticed these things. See, when I say what is the protocol used to carry the phase one information, you will say it's a ISACAM. And after that, I'll say what's a protocol carrying a phase two information, you will say ESP. How many of you agree on this? Is it correct? Is this correct, guys? Phase 1 information will be carried by ISACAMP and phase 2 information will be carried by ESP protocol. We very much clear what I'm telling. Listen properly. This is wrong answer. Phase 1 message exchanges, 6 message exchanges will happen with ISACAMP protocol. This is correct. Phase 2 quick mode 3 message exchanges will also happen in ISACAMP only. Correct. Sriram, now you are correct. Both phase 1 and phase 2 will be carried by ISACAMP. And the data after completing the phase 2, now what the real data will pass, that will be encapsulated, encrypted by ESP protocol. Guys, am I clear with this now? So please avoid these confusions. No more confusions. Now these are the technical things where you might lag in your interviews. Now one more question. My ISACAMP phase 1 is also known as my ISACAMP phase 1 is also known as, in terms of plane, tell me, my ISACAMP phase 1 is also known as control plane. So can I ask like this also, just to twist you, can I ask you, what are the planes under the ISACAMP? Right, I can ask you, what are the planes under the ISACAMP? So you will tell me, answer me, what are the planes under the ISACAMP? See, lots of you guys are basically, getting wrong informations, or they might give a correct information. You are adopting it as a wrong. I don't know what it is. Okay, but correct yourself. Correct yourself how ISACAMP works and how ESP works. Don't get confused. ISACAMP has a two phases, phase 1 and phase 2, in which phase 1 is also known as a control plane and phase 2 is known as a data plane. Control plane and a data plane, not data and control. Okay, control plane and a data plane. So these are the two planes. Again, let's repeat and answer. Let's repeat and understand this. IPsec has a three major protocols: IKE, ESP, and AH. This is the way you need to answer. Under the IKE, we have ISACAMP protocol. Like that you can answer. And also you can say under the IKE, we have NAT protocol also. Right. ESP works on ESP works on the protocol number 50, AH works on the protocol number 51. ISACAMP works on the UDP port number 500 for source and destination, and UDP and NAT works on the UDP port number 4500 for source and destination. Do not forget to mention source and destination. Okay. Now, under the IKE, either it's IK v1 or IK v2. Further, you can say like this: IKE has a two versions, IK v1 and IK v2. Both IKE version runs on the UDP port number 500. It exchanges the messages under the UDP 500. Your both IK v1 and IK v2 runs under the UDP port number 500. And ISACAMP has a two phases. ISACAMP has a two phases. Say like this: So indirectly you are telling what? ISACAMP is a part of what? IKV1 and IKV2. It means I'm basically telling about IKV1 and IKV2. See, it's not wrong to say IKV1 has a phase 1 and a phase 2. It's not wrong to say IKV2 has a phase 1 and phase 2. Okay, and this is also not wrong to say that ISACAMP has phase 1 and phase 2, because IKV1 or IKV2 uses a protocol ISACAMP, right, to access the phase 1 and phase 2 parameters, right? So ISACAMP phase 1 is basically known as a control plane and phase 2 is known as a data plane. So this is how you guys need to define, you need to tell them. Now let's say whatever answer you are giving to the person who is taking your interview, they might confuse, right? So it's your responsibility to give a clear picture to them. Now how they want to understand, right? See, it's not important that the person who is taking the interview, he might be knowing everything. No one knows. Now he might understand like, okay, IKV2, sorry, he might understand IK has a two versions, IKV1 and IKV2, and it has a two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. You can explain it in that way also. It's your understanding, how do you understand? Okay, so IKV1 also has a phase 1 and phase 2, IKV2 also has a phase 1 and phase 2. See how many ways I have defined right now. Here I told you guys, this in this document I am telling you that IPsec has IKV1, IKV2, and IKV1 has a phase 1 and phase 2, IKV2 has a phase 1 and phase 2. Like this I told. Again, what I'm writing here, I'm telling IK has a phase 1 and IK has the IKV1 and IKV2, right? Instead of telling IKV1 has a phase 1 and the phase 2, I'm telling both IK runs on the UDP port number 500 and ISACAMP has a phase 1 and the phase 2. Guys, don't you think they are related to each other? They are same thing. They are same thing. It's your understanding. See, it's up to you that how do you make understand or how do you understand yourself. First of all, convince yourself before convincing others. First of all, convince yourself. If if you have not understood the concept, then you cannot make others understand. So very first thing, clear your concept. Okay, and moreover, I'll show you these things practically. I'll show you these things practically, that all these informations are actually passing through the ISACAMP. And here I have written also, understand these points, then you will get a clear picture. There are two modes. Okay, here you can see IKV1. There are two different modes of building phase 1, right? Either you can say main mode or aggressive mode. So I told IK has two modes, fine, main mode and aggressive mode, these are the modes, right? So there are two different modes of building a phase 1. This is about the phase 1. I'm discussing about the phase 1. Phase 1 has a two modes, main mode and aggressive mode, right? Before this, let's come to the ISACAMP. Before this, come to ISACAMP. I have written here very clearly, ISACAMP has a two different phases, right? ISACAMP has a two different phases, phase 1 and phase 2, right? So ISACAMP is, running phase 1 and the phase 2 information, And where does the ISACAM comes into the picture? ISACAM comes into IKV1 or IKV2, and IKV2 and IKV1 sorry, IKV1 and IKV2 comes under what? IKE. So don't you think, guys, that you can explain it like this? IKE has a two versions, IKV1 and IKV2, and IKV1 and IKV2 has two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. But these two phases runs under the protocol called as a ISACAM. Now, how many ways do you need to explain it? Is anyone confused with this? Tell me right now. Let's discuss on it. Let's clear it. Open yourself, guys. Tell me whatever the questions you have, clear it. The difference between IKV1 and IKV2, what are the benefits? That is secondary part. First of all, tell me, I didn't come to that particular point, Sriram, right now. I will definitely tell you the difference between version 1 and version 2. Okay, but right now, this point, is it clear to everyone? Okay. Let me ask you one more question. When I talk about the modes, then those mode comes under which version? Yes, Jennifer, this answer is correct. IKV1 and IKV2 both has two phases. This is correct. Okay. Sir, you told after 9 messages, ESP comes in a picture. Correct. After the 9 message exchanges only, ESP comes into a picture. It's not like, do not confuse yourself by thinking that for a phase 1 ISACAM is used and phase 2 these 3 messages of the quick mode will be carried by ESP protocol. No, it's a big no. Understand, first of all these 6 message exchanges will happen, then your phase 1 negotiation is done. Then what will come up? Quick mode negotiation will come up with the 3 message exchanges, and this will also happen under which protocol? Jennifer, this will also happen under which protocol? ISACAM only.
UDP, yeah.
Correct. After these negotiations happens, the work of phase 1 and phase 2 is done. The work of ISACAM is done. And after that only the real data will get protected. ESP is an encapsulation payload. Okay. So that payload uses to carry the real data inside the ESP. Right. And with ESP, we apply encryption plus hash. If someone is asking me what is ESP, then I will tell it's only a protocol used for encapsulation by its name, ESP, encapsulating security payload. But we can say ESP also supports encryption plus hash. So along ESP we are on defining, guys, while defining the protection to the tunnel, we are not defining only ESP. We say ESP with a 3DES, ESP with a SAI HMAC. So ESP, with ESP we are using the algorithms. It means ESP supports encryption plus hash. Like this it is. What ESP uses to carry the data? Data is your real data. Your real data means, now let's say if I'm sending some file to you, that's my real data. All right. that real data will be, that real information will be carried. Now let's say I am sending a ping command, I'm trying to check the reachability. So that ping command which I'm sending, ICMP query what I'm sending, that's also a kind of data, right? So from one side to another side, ICMP data will be carried only when phase 1 and phase 2 will be completed, and then that ICMP data will be encrypted by the ESP protocol. You got the point? After quick mode 3 messages, encryption will apply. See, I didn't tell you like this. I didn't tell you like after the 3 messages only the encryption will start. In this you have a several meanings. Regarding this, when I'll talk about the individual messages, then you will understand. Bhardwaj, see, there are different things, there are different encryptions happening. Okay, so when I'll come to the message exchanges, there you will understand what are the other encryptions. See, one thing you are correct about was that after the third message, means after the quick mode, these 3 message exchanges, ESP whatever the information will carry, that will be encrypted for sure, because we'll be applying encryption, right? So all those informations carried under the ESP will be encrypted. Now let me tell you what are the informations that will be carried inside the ESP. Now let's say, okay, the mechanism used inside the ESP. Understand here. Very first thing, see what are the details that will be under the ESP, right? That gets encrypted. Very first thing, there will be data. There will be a data, and on this data, on top of this we'll have the real source. Let's say 10.11.11.1 is the real source, your private IPv4 addresses, and destination is 10.12.12.4, right? So this is my real data. On top of this I'll have a IPv4 header, right? So this is the first header. This first header will be under the IPv4 header, right? And this IPv4 header will be again encapsulated. This entire informations will be, on top of this entire information, what will have? We'll have ESP. So this entire informations will be encapsulated. With the ESP, I'll be using a mechanism, the algorithm that will be my -3 days or AES algorithm. Plus, I'll be using ESP with SHA as the algorithm for the hashing purpose. And all these informations will be encrypted. You won't be able to see. Now, this encrypted traffic cannot simply run on the internet. It needs another IPv4 header. So you'll have the public source and the public destination. This public source and the public destination will be carried. Now understand this ESP and the algorithm you have given, AES and SHA, is just an example. For what? This is an example to encrypt our data, which will be encrypting our data and providing the hash value to the data after these 9 message exchanges. So there is basically the ESP coming into a picture. See, 2 things are there. Now you will see Answer me, guys. To do a encryption also you need a key, right? To do the encryption also you need a key. Yes or no? Now, where is that key coming from? Where is that key coming from? That key is coming from the Diffie-Hellman, correct. So Diffie-Hellman is responsible for encrypting the data. Got it? So Diffie-Hellman is basically responsible to define or to create a data, to create the key. So that is the mechanism to encrypt a data. ESP is a protocol. ESP uses a cryptographic method to encrypt the data. But to encrypt the data, you need a key as well, right? And who gives you that key? Diffie-Hellman gives us as a key to encrypt the data. Akshay, now am I clear? ESP is used for key sizes, but actual encryption is done by DH. Okay. See, Diffie-Hellman gives you a key to encrypt the data, right? ESP is an encapsulation payload. With ESP, I apply the cryptographic method to provide the encryption. Now understanding what I'm saying? Okay. So this is how you guys should answer. Okay, show your confidence in these things. Okay. Now let's discuss about our slides. Okay. So first of all, theoretically, let's understand what's the ISACAMP and what are the phases. So ISACAMP has two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Either it's IKV1 or IKV2. Okay, one more question I asked you guys. My question was, when I talk about the modes, then which version of the IKE you will be answering me? Which version of the IKE has the modes? IKV2 has no modes. Okay, if you guys know the modes of IKV2, tell me what are the modes of IKV2. Murtuza, tell me what are the modes of IKV2. What are the modes of IKV2? There is no quick mode. There is no quick mode. Phase 1 and phase 2 you will have, right? Murtuza and other guys understand. In IKV2 total 4 message exchanges will happen. After the 4 message exchanges, child essay will be created. So child essay which gets created, this is like a phase 2 tunnel is passing the traffic. Okay, I'll show you the comparisons. I'll tell you about the phase 2. Let me complete phase 1 first of all. Okay. Total 4 message exchanges you'll have in the IKV2. Right. We don't have any like main mode, aggressive mode, or the quick mode kind of stuff. After the 4 message exchanges, child essay will be created. Okay. Child essay is just like a phase 2. Don't get confused. Is that clear, guys? See, this main mode and quick mode, these things you will see only under the ISACAMP, only under the IKV1. This mode kind of stuff you will see only under this mode which you see, main mode, aggressive mode, and the quick mode. This you will see only under the IKV1, not under the IKV2. Now, see, they used a term as a child essay, okay? Because we have only 4 message exchanges over here. We don't have any other types of modes in IKV2. I'll come to IKV2. I'll give you the comparisons between IKV1 and IKV2, okay? First of all, understand the IKV1, then we'll go to the IKV2. Now, ISACAMP has a phase 1 and the phase 2. Phase 1 is used to control or used for the control plane. It is used to establish secure channels between the peers, prove identities, and negotiate a data plane security settings. So this negotiation of the data plane security will be used to secure the data plane traffic. So phase 2 is basically used for data plane traffic and also transports the protected data. So that's the use of your ISACAMP phase 2. Now IKV1, see, very specifically I told here, it's not about IKV1. IKV2 has 2 different modes, right? IKV2 has 2 different modes. There are 2 different modes of building phase 1, right? This main mode and the aggressive mode. Now what's a main mode? In a main mode, what happens? 6 message exchanges, full identity protection. This is one of the major point, the difference between the main mode and the aggressive mode. Give this reason always. In a main mode, you will say you will give one major reason, the difference between main mode and the aggressive mode. You will say main mode is the secure mode and aggressive mode is not the secure mode. Why? Main mode has a 6 packet exchanges, right? And aggressive mode has a 3 message exchanges. So compared to 6 and 3, which will be the quicker one, guys? Which will be the quicker one? Obviously 3 will be the quicker one. So it says it has a faster session establishment. But it's not about the faster only. It's also about which one is the secure one. See, this is the major difference that you need to understand. Full identity protection is there in the main mode. And here it says identity passed in a clear text. Now this is the major part. This is what I don't want. Okay. Here, responder must authenticate himself first. PSK can be retrieved by an offline brute force attack. Okay, so these are the few things which are not secure in the aggressive mode. So very first thing, the main mode is the secure one. Here the identity, whatever will be shared, will be in the clear text. Here the identity will be in the, in main mode the identity will be protected, it will be encrypted, and here the identity will be in the clear text. This is the major point that you have to tell between the main mode and the aggressive mode. Okay, now after this, IKV1 main mode, in the first message and the second message, what happens? Understand, I told you guys, in a main mode how many message exchanges happens, guys? In a main mode, how many message exchanges happens? 6 message exchanges happens, right? So we are talking about the first, we are talking about, just a minute. In a first and the second message, what happens? This is brief on the IKEv1 main mode, message 1 and the message 2, right? Now let me compare this thing with your captured packet also. Let me open the same document twice. Okay, let's put this side by side and let's understand. Now this is now guys, understand here. The first two messages are used to negotiate the following cryptographic attributes. In a first message exchange, one side will be initiator, another will be responder. These are the two sides. These are the two sides. This is the first site and this is the second site. In the first site, what happens? It will initiate the traffic and it will send it to the other site, right? So one site becomes the initiator, another site becomes the responder. Understand? So in the first message exchange, we'll have these many attributes which comes under your cryptographic, including the cryptographic method also. So I will send what type of authentication are we going to follow? So let's say I want to follow the authentication method as a pre-shared. I want to follow the authentication method as a pre-shared, PSK. I'll follow the authentication method as a PSK. I'll follow the encryption cipher text. I'll follow the encryption method as a AES. Okay, that's my encryption method. Hashing, I'll take MD5, right? I'll take MD5. Let me write all these things here. Now let's say I'll use authentication as the H stands for hash, and for hashing I'll use MD5. For example, A stands for authentication. For authentication I'll use pre-shared key, or also you can call it as a PSK. G stands for group, that's your Diffie-Hellman group. Okay, I'll use a minimum Diffie-Hellman group as a 2, or I can use 5, or I can use 14. I can use any. Haggle, HAGL. L stands for lifetime. What's the default lifetime for the phase 1, guys? What's the default lifetime for the phase 1? The default lifetime for the phase 1 in a seconds, it's a 84,000. Right, 84,006. It's sorry, 86,400. Sorry, it's a 86,400. It's a seconds. which equals to 24 hours. This equals to 24 hours. 86,400 seconds equals to 24 hours. This is the default lifetime of the phase 1 tunnel. Guys, can anyone tell me what does this lifetime mean over here? What does this lifetime mean? Correct. Okay, now let's see. After the lifetime, again the key exchange will happen. Correct. So re-key occurs after this time. Now that's for the phase 1, not for the phase 2. For phase 2, after how many hours it happens? Every after 1 hour. Correct. E stands for encryption. And for encryption, we use the algorithms like 3DES, AES. Guys, in short, do you see written as a Haggle process? H-A-G-L-E, Haggle. So you can use these words also. So basically what happens in the phase 1, in the first message exchange, from the initiator to the responder, we are sending the proposal. I'm sending the proposal. I'm saying, hey, site B or the other site, I want to follow this encryption, this authentication, this group, this lifetime, this encryption method. What do you say? Let's follow this. One site will be proposing the other site that let's follow this encryption method, this hashing method, this lifetime, and this Diffie-Hellman group. So the other site will say the second message exchange will be also agree message. You can also say agree message. Always understand the second message, fourth message, and the fifth messages, you can also call it as agree messages. Okay, it agrees upon what the initiator says to responder. So responder says, no worries, I'm going to follow the same encryption, same hash, same lifetime, and the and the authentication and the Diffie-Hellman methods that you proposed me. So this is all about my phase 1 and the phase 2 negotiation. Guys, are you understanding what is happening in the phase 1 main mode, first and the second message exchange? Now, the most important part, what you need to understand, what is written here? Is your information encrypted over here? This negotiation, whatever we do, is it encrypted, guys? Peer not authenticated yet. Why it's not encrypted? Why the informations are not encrypted? Because the peers are not authenticated yet. Right. Now, let's see the same packet. Let's see the same thing with your packet, captured packet. Hold on. Now let's see the same thing with the captured packet. Now understand, this is my initiator R1 and this is the responder R1. Guys, please take a picture of this topology quickly because these IP addresses I want you guys to see. Okay, once this is done, now let's see. In IKE header, security payload will be there, proposal payload will be there, transform payload will be there, right? Available combinations of the security association parameters. Now, understand these things. Let's understand these things one by one. So I'm trying to exchange the data from R1 to R2, wherein R1 is the initiator, R2 is the responder, and see, I captured the first message exchange. This is your first message exchange. In the first message exchange, what is happening? In the first message exchange, can you guys see here that I want to carry the information between this source to this destination? This is my IPv4 header. Below that you have the UDP port number 500 for the source and UDP port number 500 for the destination. Is this clear, guys? That UDP works with the source port number also as a 500 and the destination port number also as a 500, right? Okay, see another thing. Internet Security Association and the Key Management Protocol. So wherever you see the upper header as a UDP port number 500 for source and destination, it means I'll definitely have the next header as a ISACAMP, right? So I can see ISACAMP, and here you can see under the ISACAMP, here we have initiators SPI parameter. It will be a value in a form of cookies. This value is in a form of cookies, and the cookies values you cannot read it. Now this will be used for the verification purpose. You can see there is a initiators cookies value and responders cookie value is blank. We don't have anything. So this is the first message, and here you can see you have the first payload called as the security association payload. Understand? You might have the question in the interview, which payload is responsible to carry the Haggle information in the first message exchange? Now, who is going to answer this? Which payload is responsible to carry the Haggle information in your first message exchange? Tell me, guys. Which payload is... No, that's not the correct answer. That's not the correct answer. I am very much specific to the payload. Please tell me which payload is responsible. After that, I'll come back to SA. See, SA is there, but I'm asking you which payload is responsible. Exactly, SA is not the payload. Under the SA, that payload comes. Which payload is responsible to carry the... It's a transform payload. Always understand. And transform payload comes under which payload? Transform payload comes under which payload? Proposal payload. And proposal payload comes under which payload? SA payload. Now this is the correct answer. This is the way you should answer. See here. The first payload is the security association payload. Under the SA payload, you have, see here, you can see it is a security association payload. It says next payload as a security association payload. So let's come to security association payload. You can see under this we have clicked and we went into which payload, guys? Proposal payload. And under the proposal payload, we again found the another called as a transform payload. Guys, are you understanding now? So which payload is responsible for carrying the Haggle process? Transform payload. And transform payload comes under which payload? Proposal. And proposal comes under security association. So I hope now you guys are getting understand. Now you are understanding, right? How the things are going on. Now you can see. Now you can see here. See, these informations are publicly available. So based on these parameters, we are not deciding that your traffic is secure. First message, second message, all the informations will be in the clear text itself. You can see AES is visible. I'm negotiating, I'm proposing the other side that let's follow AES 256 bit as a encryption, hash as a SHA-2 512 bit, Diffie element group as a 2048. Tell me guys, 2048 indicates which Diffie element group? Is it? You guys don't study. All of you are wrong. All of you, Pradeep, what is that answer? 3 dash. 3 dash is an algorithm. I am asking about Diffie-Hellman. 2048 belongs to which group? G2 indicates 1024, correct. There is no G3, there is G5. G5 indicates 1500 something, right? Add 512 on that. Correct. And the G14 belongs to 2048 bit. I had shown you guys a chart of Diffie-Hellman group, right? In that document, I have written the details of the Diffie-Hellman groups and their key sizes. Have you guys seen that? I have shared one cryptographic document, right? In that I have shown you. Have I shown you in the class, guys? While teaching about the cryptographic method, I had explained you. Do you remember? I don't know, half of you guys are confused or what? After that, you can see lifetime in a seconds. It is shown as a 86,400 seconds. Now another interview question I'll tell you. They might ask you, I have the initiator and I have the responder. Right. Now initiator has these many parameters, proposing, and responder also has almost the same everything. A responder is also responding back with the same parameters, but one thing he made a different. He made the lifetime as a 12 hours over here. Right. Now tell me guys, will the tunnel will the negotiation happen successfully between the two sides? Yes or no? Okay. Now here you guys are smart. Right. So negotiation will happen and 12 hours will be given as a priority. It means a rekey will occur after 12 hours. Right? Now, you guys do a practical. Okay, in that practical, try to find out about the rekey. Okay, and try to capture the packet and see what negotiation happens. What negotiation happens in that a negotiation? Just keep one side as a 68,000, sorry, 86,400 seconds, 24 hours one side, and another side just put like 15 minutes. Put 15 minutes on the other side. While we'll do the configurations, right? At that time, you guys try at your home and capture the packet and see the negotiation happens after the 15 minutes or after the 24 hours. Definitely it will happen after the 15 minutes, right? Least time will be given as a priority. But by default, phase 1 will be 24 hours. So even after changing the lifetime on the other side, still negotiation will happen. And in this negotiation, the priority will be given to 12 hours. After the 12 hours, the key exchange or rekey will occur between the two sides. So phase 1 negotiation we are done. Now let's understand the phase 2 negotiation. Sorry, phase 1 first message exchange is done, not the phase 1, guys. I mean the first message exchange is done. Guys, hold on, I have a call. Okay, so in the second message exchange also, what do you see? The responder has responded with the SPI parameter. SPI is nothing but it's a security parameter index, which will be secure, right? The information will not be revealed because it will be in the form of cookies. You can see here, I have written here in the first message exchange itself, I have written here very clearly. Here it's written the main mode. Second message is the responder from, okay, this is the second message details. Okay, here you can see I have written here very clearly internet key exchange version 1, right? And you can see the operation IKEv1 can be broken down into two phases, phase 1, and these things are done. Now we are understanding the negotiation of the phase 1. Phase 1 negotiation can happen in two different modes. All these things I have written, guys. Main mode, aggressive mode, okay? And how many message exchanges are there? Let me show you if I have written anywhere about the cookies and all. Okay, I haven't written. Anyways, these are in the form of cookies, and cookies are basically protected by the MD5 value. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. Now this is the second message exchange, and in the second message exchange, you guys can see we have initiator and the responder. Both of them has the SPI parameters. Understand this SPI parameters. Re-verification will happen in a phase 2 also. So after that, you can see again in the second message exchange also, this is second message from the responder to the initiator. You can see again we have a next payload as the security association payload. So under the security association payload, we have the proposal payload, and under the proposal payload we have the transform payload, and these all are the parameters which has been, you know, given a reply from your from the responder to the initiator by responding upon or agreeing upon the request. So it's like the responder has agreed upon the AES 256 SAF I12 and group as a 14 and authentication method as a PSK and the lifetime as a 86,400 seconds. So this was the second message exchange, and the same thing written in the Word over here, guys. So you guys can read those things. I'm just explaining you based on the message exchanges. So guys, two message exchanges we have already done. Two message exchanges are completed. Now let's understand the third and the fourth message exchange. Okay, before I read third and the fourth message exchange, here you can see these are the same thing that I explained you right now in the first message exchange, right? Main mode 1, you can see I told you the first header that we had a cookies value, guys. It was in the cookie value. We had a responders, we had the initiators randomly generated number per session, that was a SPI parameter, right? And the responders SPI parameters were 0 0, and this was the direction from where it was the main mode first message exchange. It was the direction from the initiator to responder, right? The same thing written here. We have the SA multiple crypto policies, right? Here we have multiple informations, vendors string or the hash value used to advertise support for the capabilities not to define in a standard NATI. Okay, right now these things NATI has not been detected over here. NATI does not come in the first message exchange. Just understand the first message exchange, we have all those parameters exchanges, Haggle process, and also the initiators SPI parameters in the form of cookies will be exchanged. So we have the SA policies shared over here, that SA policies were under the proposal payload, and under the proposal we had the transform payload. So this is how the things were carried, and most important part, it was unencrypted, unauthenticated over here. Now in a second message exchange also you can see both the message exchanges are done over here, and this is the second message exchange from the responder to the initiator, and still the message is unencrypted and unauthenticated over here, right? After that we have the third and the fourth message exchange. Now what happens in the third and the fourth message exchange? This is the summary. Now exchange of Diffie-Hellman key values, exchange of nonce values. Okay, so along with the Diffie-Hellman key, nonce value will also be exchanged, right? Detect if a NAT is used between the peers. If the tunnel is passing through any translated device, that will be detected here itself. So in an interview, if they are asking you from which message exchange a NAT will be detected, then you need to say third and the fourth message, right? You can see it will exchange the Diffie-Hellman keys values, it will exchange the nonce value. Nonce value will be a random value, right, based on which it has to receive the reply from the other side, and this is used for the protection purpose. Okay, now NAT, if a NAT is used between peers, now let's say here I have one site, here I have another site, and between the traffic has to pass, the tunnel has to pass through any translated device, then this device is using NAT or not, that will be detected here itself. It means between these two peers, is there any translation used? That is what getting detected over here. Okay, then we suggest a trusted certificate authority. If we are using any certificate authorities over here, then that will be suggested here itself. After this exchange, further communication is encrypted and secure. Guys, see what is written here. After this exchange, further communication is encrypted and secure. But this exchange which is happening currently, the third message exchange, is it secure? Has the peer authenticated? Guys, what I'm asking you, till now the peer has not authenticated, the messages are not encrypted. I mean, like, see, you can see the random key generated by the Diffie-Hellman, right? That will be a public key that will be exchanged from the initiator to the responder. Now, this is the first key generated by Diffie-Hellman shared from the initiator to the responder, right? And till now, the peer has not authenticated. They have not exchanged the identity with themselves. They have not exchanged. So just the key, I hope you guys remember what I explained you guys in a asymmetric key method. First of all, they exchange the keys with each other to encrypt the data. So right now, initiator is sending its public key to the responder, right? And right now they have not authenticated. Now this is how happening, guys. NAT discovery payloads will also be there to discover if any translated the devices is there. You can see Diffie-Hellman key will be there. You can see before that headers will be there for the cookies for X and Y. That's basically your initiator and the responder cookies. These things will be there, but those things has been already done. Now the third thing what we are going to see, the Diffie-Hellman key along with the nonce value and the additional NAT-T discovery protocols will be, I mean, like, payloads will be there. Until this information, it's unencrypted and it's unauthenticated. Now let's see this in a packet. Now same thing we'll see with the packet. Here you can see the third message exchange having the payload called as a key exchange, and this is my key data. This is my public key. Public key is publicly available. Does not matter if someone is stealing this data, they don't have their corresponding private key to decrypt the data, so it's secure. After that, you can see this is nonce data, and nonce data is under the nonce payload, right? Payload type is nonce, and here you can see what's a nonce value given, guys. It's 10. Nonce data value is used 10 over here. So these two informations having here, and can you see here NAT discovery over here? If there is any NAT-T basically detected, so NAT discovery also is done from the third message exchange itself. Nonce is basically a number. It's a random number used for the security purpose. Now let's say if I'm sending the nonce value as a 10, I'll be expecting a reply with the same nonce value. If someone is responding with other nonce value, I will understand that I'm not getting a reply from the particular type of the responder. Did you understand? Okay, now see, if I see the fourth message exchange, in a fourth message exchange, what you will see? Do you see the same nonce value used over here? Sriram, do you see the same nonce value used here as a reply? So this is used for protection of your key exchange. So you can see in a fourth message also you have the key exchange payload and we have the nonce payload, and this is the data being exchanged between the two sides, and NAT discovery from the responder is also there. So responder is also finding, when responder is trying to reply, in the way of a responder to initiator, is there any translating device or not? If it is there, then they will be discovering in this message exchange. So they are sending the NAT discovery messages also in third and fourth message exchange. Now the same thing, let's see with the explanation first. So this was the third message exchange, and this was the fourth message exchange. And the fourth message exchange also, what does it say? That Diffie-Hellman key I am exchanging with the nonce value and also sending the discovery payloads for the NAT-T, right? And still this message is unencrypted and unauthenticated. Now guys, both these sites have exchanged their public keys with each other, right? Now both the sites have their keys with each other. Initiator's public key is present with a responder and responder's key is present with initiator. Guys, is this clear till this fourth message exchange? Everyone? Okay. Once now if they have key exchange done, it means they can encrypt the data and they can send them, right? They can exchange the any information with encryption, right? So nonce is also used for what? See here, Sriram, your reply. Nonce is also used for anti-reply. Okay. So this is the technical word you can use. Nonce is used for anti-reply. Now these are the group of values of your Diffie-Hellman, guys. Take a picture of this. Anyways, I have given this a document with you, right? So till 26 groups are present with the Diffie-Hellman, right? And these are the informations. Now, these are the calculation or the way that your Diffie-Hellman the algorithm works. You don't need to understand this. See, in engineering, you guys might have seen these things, aligns kind of stuff, right? So now these things are not required. No need to. Now understand the fifth message and the sixth message. Okay. The fifth message exchange. If you have the certificate, then certificate will be exchanged. Now whatever data is there, it will be exchanged. Now I have authentication data. I want to authenticate both the sites. Now I'm going to verify. See, till the fourth message exchange, it can be anyone. Now let's say on the internet, see, till fourth message exchange, understand perfectly, guys, what I'm trying to tell here. Let's say I have one site, I have the another site, and I have the one more site who is an attacker, right? Right now, till now, whatever the messages we have exchanged over the internet between the two sites, right? Now that could be anyone, right? Now that could be the fake guy also responding me back. Instead of this guy, might be this attacker is responding me till this point, right? Isn't it possible, guys? Till this point, if I know all his IP addresses, everything, I can pretend to be like this, right? I can pretend to be someone else. Now let's say this is my A and this is my C, this is my B, right? Now whatever A's properties I have, the same thing I might pretend here to be, and I might try to exchange all these parameters. Isn't it possible till this point? Because the informations are in the clear text till fourth message exchange. So till fourth message exchange, if I capture the packet, don't you think I can pretend to be someone else? Now in the fifth and the sixth message exchange, the other site will come to know that I'm not exchanging a real data with the actual guy, because in the fifth message exchange, what is happening? Understand, in the fifth message exchange, what is happening? In the fifth message exchange, this is not the fifth message exchange, I guess. Okay, here I can see the key exchange payload. Okay, this is fourth message exchange. This is fifth message exchange. In this fifth message exchange, can you see, guys? I'm sending what type of payload? Identification payload, right? And do you see the data that I'm sending to identify each other is in the encrypted format? Now let's say for identification I'm using the key as a Cisco, and you are also using the key as a Cisco. So that's my identification happening, and that Cisco is basically encrypted by the Diffie-Hellman key, which is being shared between the two sides. Right, guys, are you getting my point what I'm saying? Diffie-Hellman key has been used on both the sides. They have shared the Diffie-Hellman keys on both the sides. Now I want to identify, I want to share the identification key. My identification is Cisco used on both the sides, and that Cisco is again encrypted by the Diffie-Hellman key, because that Cisco is basically assumed as the data. That Cisco key which I'm using for identification is used as a data, and the data will be encrypted by the key which was generated by Diffie-Hellman and which was shared between two sides. So initiator will encrypt the data by whose public key here? This is the fifth message exchange from the initiator to responder. This is the fifth message exchange. Now tell me, guys, this fifth message, this key, the identification part is encrypted, and this is being forwarded to responder. Now initiator has encrypted the data by whose public key? That's my question. If you give a correct reply, it means you have understood till now whatever we have discussed. It means the identification part, whatever we are doing, is basically shared between the two sides, right? And that identification part is not in a clear text. Now this will be the major difference between the main mode and the aggressive mode. So identification is happening in the encrypted format because I'm using responder's public key to encrypt the data, and I'm sending it to a responder. A responder will have its corresponding private key, so it can decrypt the data and it can identify it properly, right? The same thing will happen with the sixth message exchange, right? So this is the sixth message exchange. In the sixth message also, again, the identification happens and you can see your data is encrypted. It means my encryption in the main mode starts from which message exchange? See, two types of questions you will get in interview. I am telling you. They will ask you, key exchange happens in which message exchange? Third and fourth. And encryption starts from which message exchange? Correct. And your proposal is being shared in which message exchange? Correct. Now this is done. Okay. Okay. So main mode 6 message exchanges are understood. Now see the fifth and the sixth message exchange right from here. In fifth and sixth message exchange, what will happen? If you have the certificate, then certificate will be exchanged. If not certificate, then there will be a pre-shared key, then pre-shared key or the certificate, whatever is there, it will be exchanged. Now, cryptographically validate a previous message, prevents a session hijack, right? switched to UDP port number 4500 if or NAT has been detected, right? If a NAT has been detected in which message exchange? Third and the fourth. Tell me guys, one more question. NAT discovery messages will be sent in which message exchanges? NAT discovery messages will be exchanged in which message exchange? Third and fourth. Right. And it will be applied if NAT has been detected. If a NAT has been detected between the two sides, then NAT T will be applied from which message exchange? Fifth and sixth. So can I say from fifth and sixth message exchange, I will see UDP port number 4500 used? Yes. And we'll see these things practically, correct? We'll see these things practically. And do you see encrypted peer is providing identity and it is encrypted. So I hope these 6 message exchanges are clear to you. I'm giving you guys a time, go through these documents properly again, read these things, do some exercise, understand, and get me back if you have any queries and the questions with you. Tomorrow again I'll ask you several questions and individually I can ask you. Don't be absent, okay? And please go through all these things. Okay. Okay guys, see you tomorrow. Take care.